Hi! In this lesson, we're going to learn how to work with 3D objects in Roblox Studio. You may know about working in 2D already from math class. A 2D or two-dimensional grid has an x-axis and a y-axis. The x-axis represents the left or right position, and the y-axis represents the up or down position. A 2D game might have you running left and right and allow you to jump up and down. When you work in 3D, you add another dimension. This is done by adding a z-axis. The z-axis represents the position back and forth. 3D indicators and view cubes often color code the three axes. If they're not labeled, just think of this rhyme. XYZ is RGB. To remember that, X equals red, Y equals green, and Z equals blue. In a 3D game or experience, you'll be able to move objects left, right, up, down, and back and forth. This makes knowing how to navigate your world really important. When you start building worlds in Roblox Studio, you'll want to be able to navigate the camera and change your view. This way, you'll be able to build different sections or areas of your game or experience for players to enjoy. One way that you can navigate in Roblox Studio is by using the keyboard. You can use the arrow keys to move the camera forward, backward, left, and right. You can also use certain letter keys to do the same thing. With the letter keys, you can also move the camera up and down. Now, if for some reason your keyboard camera navigation doesn't work, use your mouse to select or click on the 3D editor. Then try using the keyboard navigation keys again. The left and right movement moves the camera on the x-axis. The up and down keys are actually moving the camera on the z-axis. Remember that forward and backward movement is the added dimension in a 3D program. The Q and the E keys move the camera up and down. Notice that if you move down too far, you end up beneath the ground level. You can also use your mouse to change the camera view. This works best if you have an external mouse with a scroll wheel button. If you hold down the right-click button and drag your mouse, you'll see that this moves the camera around in all directions. There are two actions that you can do using the middle scroll wheel. If you hold down the middle button or the scroll wheel and drag the mouse, you'll see that this moves the camera back and forth. If you just scroll on the scroll wheel, this will zoom the camera in or out. Let's take a look. Here's what this looks like in the 3D editor. Holding the right mouse button while dragging the mouse allows you to orbit the camera around the scene. Holding down the middle mouse button or the scroll wheel while dragging the mouse lets you pan the camera or move it sideways and up and down. Scrolling the mouse wheel allows you to zoom in and out with the camera in the 3D editor. A part is the primary building block in Roblox. You can add and customize parts to build objects. Each part can be moved, resized, and rotated. Later on, you'll also be able to add and customize parts using a script and some programming. To add a part, click on the part icon and choose a shape. Notice that a part shows up directly on the spawn location, and the part also is added to the workspace in the Explorer window. In Roblox Studio, the basic unit of measurement is called a stud. By default, parts move by snapping one stud at a time along the grid. To move a part, click on the Move icon. Then, click on either the X, Y, or Z axis and drag it to move along that axis. Scaling a part makes the part larger or smaller. To scale a part, click on the Scale icon. Then, click on either the green, red, or blue dots to grow or shrink the part along that axis. You can also rotate a part around the X, Y, and Z axes. To rotate a part, click on the Rotate icon. Then, click on either the green, red, or blue circles to rotate the part along that axis. All parts have properties. You can customize parts by changing these properties. If the Properties window isn't visible, select the View tab and click the Properties button. You can also adjust these properties with a script and some programming, which we'll see later on in the course. You can change the appearance of your part by modifying properties such as the color, the material, and the transparency. You can also change a part's size and position in this window instead of using the tools that we just learned about. Using the transform properties can be helpful if you're trying to match the size of another part or space out parts evenly, which could be harder to do using the tools. An important property to know about is the anchored property. When you play your experience, gravity affects each part by default. You can also bump into and move each part. So, if you'd like your part to stay floating in the air or to not move, you'll want the part to be anchored. Both of the parts here look to be floating, but if you play the game, you'll see that the green one falls. This one was not anchored. And what you just saw was called playtesting. When you're in the Roblox studio, you can play your game to test out how it works. It's really good practice to playtest your game often. As you just saw, you may think you have it set up a specific way, but it could work differently when you are playing the game. You can choose to play your game from the beginning or play from where you're currently facing in Roblox Studio. And don't forget to stop playtesting before you make any changes to your program. Changes while playtesting don't always save. Alright, well now it's your turn to get in and start creating.